Hey friends, I hope you have a wonderful day. And this video, someone suggested to me provinces of Indonesia, explain it. So yeah, let's check it out. Hey Barb.
Hey everybody, welcome back. As you know, while I work in between country episodes, I do filler videos. And oh my gee, Jilly Jiminikers, what is all this? You can get a Geography Now mug, Geography Now shirt, or a Geography Now drawstring bag at geographynow.com. And by golly gosh, Gillikers, what is this? It is one of the limited edition Geography Now figurines that you can get at figgyme.com. And if you get the drawstring bag, you can put the figurine in the drawstring bag and take it away wherever you go. Anyway, we gotta move on. And what are we going to do this time? Another administrative division video. So this video is one that has been suggested to me for a long time. And why? So as you guys know, I already mentioned that India was my #1 Asian demographic subscribed country on Geography Now. And so I made that video. So by that logic, I guess it makes sense to go down the line and go to Asian demographic #2 country, Indonesia. And this is going to be a great episode because some of you guys, the Indonesian geography peeps, are going to be in the video as well. You're going to be featured as guest stars. So before we get into the video, just some quick little Indonesia side notes you need to know. There is no one type of Indonesian. There are about 300 or so recognized ethnic groups. They have 7 geographical region units, and of these provinces, 7 of them have special status. 1 province has privileged status, and 1 province has both special and privileged status. And in the case, with all of that in mind, let's go down the list and explain the provinces. And instead of going alphabetically, I think it might be more appropriate to go by the regions. So let's do it that way. Okay, so first, Sumatra. This region has the largest non-shared island that fully lies within Indonesia. It is the 6th largest island in the world, and historically it was kind of like the starting point to various Hindu and Buddhist kingdoms until Islam came in centuries later, and it is the 5th most populous island in the world. First off, Aceh. Largest city, Banda Aceh. Largest ethnic group, Acehnese. This is one of the special status provinces. So Aceh is considered the most religious out of all the provinces and is the only province that is allowed to have full implementation of Sharia law and religious, customary, and education aspects of societal life. Historically, they were very rebellious against pretty much all outsiders, including the Dutch and later even Indonesians. There was even like a separatist movement that went on for like 3 decades until peace agreements were signed in 2005. In any case, the most famous site is probably the Baituraman Grand Mosque in Banda Aceh, and yeah, very Islamic here. North Sumatra, capital and largest city, Medan. The largest ethnic group, the Batak people. Indonesians jokingly call Medan Indonesia's Gotham City. North Sumatra is famous for 2 things. It has the largest lake in the country and volcanic lake in the world, Lake Toba. And 2, it's also known for its Batak people, which also has a lot of subgroups. They have cool traditions and customs like those sharp, pointy roofed Batak houses.
Looks so cool. And the chairs and this table, so good. Looks so good.
That come with stone chairs and tables, sigale-gale puppet dances, and although it's not used much anymore, they do have their own writing system. Next one, Riau. Capital, Pekanbaru. Largest ethnic group, the Malay. It used to be under the Johor Riau Sultanate, which was Malay, which is why today Malay peoples make up the majority of the population. You can see the Sultan's former palace. They're famous for their talempong music, which uses kettle gongs, and economically speaking...
Kettle gongs. Huh. Probably, I remember that at one video there was some something looking kind of like that, but it could be kettle gongs. I wasn't what? My brain can't talk. I didn't know that they exist. What I wanted to say. So yeah, I know how to say it in my brain. I can't just say it. What? Let's just laugh about me and continue.
Speaking, this province is a big deal because they are the oil province, which has made the hydrocarbon industry their largest employer. Next one, Riau Islands. Capital, Tanjung Pinang, but the largest city is Batam. Largest ethnic group, the Malays. Now I know this one because this is the one I went to, Batam City. So basically, as this place sits close to Singapore, it is very important economically, and of course it shares some of that offshore oil industry as well. And the largest city that I actually briefly visited, Batam is a duty-free trade zone, which is why Singaporeans usually take that 40-minute long ferry to go over there to buy cheap things. Besides the Malay majority, there are other native groups, most notably the Orang Laut and the Lingga peoples that were traditionally semi-nomadic seafarers. They lived on their boats sometimes. It's a hustling, bustling...
In those pictures, I kind of wanted to ask, but yeah. He said it.
Island province, I guess you could say. Next one, West Sumatra, capital Padang, largest ethnic group Minangkabau. Now people from this province are kind of known as like intellectuals. They're politically savvy and successful businessmen, which is why they sometimes have the stereotype of being stingy. Every Indonesian is familiar with the largest people group here, the Minangkabau. They are very flashy. They love wearing either gold or gold-colored fabrics. The Minangkabau are considered the largest matrilineal society in the world, as family name and land passes down from mother to daughter, whereas religious and political affairs are handled by men. Rumah gadang houses and the pyramid-shaped mosque. They also invented the most famous Indonesian dish, beef rendang. I love that stuff. Jambi, capital Jambi, largest ethnic group Jambi, Malay. It's a type of Malay. Apparently I heard the word Jambi, the meaning comes from the word for betel nut. In any case, Jambi was a hotspot to many sites of the former Srivijaya Empire.
Looks so interesting. Seriously. Those lines and those curves, kinda.
Today you can even see remnants of the empire with archaeological sites. It's also famous for being the best place to see the Sumatran tiger and incredibly rare elusive Sumatran rhino. And finally, I was told that although the Malay here are the majority, they have their own distinct dialect and many of them actually adopt Javanese names. South Sumatra, capital Palembang, largest ethnic group, the Palembang.
I would actually be afraid if I would make these videos to just say it wrong. Palembang. Maybe not. Sounds so hard.
Palembang is nicknamed the Venice of Sumatra. They have a lot of those stilt houses on the water. You can ride a boat through them. So if Jambi was the hotspot of the Srivijaya,
like at night, can you sleep? Like, I understand. Like, someone just taking like a shortcut to his house. I'm like, no?
Empire, South Sumatra was the home. Some people say this is the birthplace of the Malay language, and the largest ethnic group here, the Palembang peoples, they're like the Minangkabau. They're very vibrant and flashy. You can find Bagi and Limas houses, traditional architecture. It's even posted on the 10,000 rupiah banknote. Timaro Island Pagoda is a famous site, and they are famous for the rubber and oil palm industry. So the Bangka Belitung Islands, capital Pangkal Pinang, largest ethnic group, the Malays once again. So this place is made up of two main big islands, Bangka and Belitung, hence the name of the province. Sometimes they are collectively called Babel. The islands were once home to one of the world's largest tin production mines. They have really good seafood dishes here. I was told like Mia Belitung, Kangan soup, and Rujak Bangka. Panggung houses are elevated to protect from the flood. Songket weaving and crafts. Also, this place is famous for Chinese people that have lived here generationally since the 13th century, mostly of Hakka Chinese descent. Bengkulu, capital Bengkulu. Largest ethnic group, Rejangis. So to kind of quickly summarize, this is the place that probably has the most British influence and remnants that you can find in all of Indonesia. It was one of the earliest areas that they traded and established a presence. You can even see some of the forts that they left behind. So basically, it used to be a UK possession, but then they swapped with the Dutch for Singapore. That's kind of how it happened. And the Rafflesia Arnold flower was documented here, and they named it after the British governor, Stamford Raffles. I mean, people had already known that it had existed before, but it was documented, so yeah. Lampung, capital, Bandar Lampung, largest ethnic group. Not the Lampung, they only make about 14%. It's actually the Javanese. So this is kind of like the land of the trans-migrant program in which a lot of Indonesians came here and migrated here. They're known for having some really good conservation centers like this one, which has a lot of elephants. A lot of great nature here. You can even find the Krakatoa volcano, which was the volcano that had like the largest eruption in all of known history. You guys told me the people here are known for being temperamental. It's also famous for the Tari Pendek dance, which has like the dancers make their wide eyes. And now we move on to the Java region.
That's the only thing is specific about the dance, that you're dancing like that?
So Java is like the powerhouse of Indonesia. It is the world's
Okay.
most populated island, and it has about 57% of the entire country's population in it. And the island is only
Okay.
like a little bit bigger than Greece. And it is home to the largest ethnic group in Indonesia, the Javanese people, that make up about 40% of the country's entire population. So let's start off with Banten. Capital, Serang, but the largest city is Tangerang, and the largest ethnic group is the Bantenese. This is the newest province in Java, partially because it had its own unique history as being its own sultanate. You can even see the former palace ruins. Now, some people say that the largest group, the Bantenese, as well as the Badui or Kanekes people, are actually a subgroup of the Sundanese people, and Sundanese is the dominant language here. Otherwise, they have this national park, which is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's home to some of the endangered Javan rhinoceroses. It's a huge
Okay.
industrial hub, and you guys told me it's also famous for black magic. I don't know what that means, but you told me. Next one, Jakarta. Capital, itself. Formerly known as Sunda, Kelapa, Jayakarta, Batavia. This is not only the largest city in Indonesia, but it's also the capital of the whole country, and hence it gets its own provincial status. It's the most diverse city, the economic and legislative hub. Most companies in Indonesia have a headquarters in Jakarta. Monuments everywhere. Technically, the city is sinking, which causes sinkholes. And the thing is, like, the traffic is so bad in Jakarta that they've actually, like, adapted a subculture called macet. It's like they use traffic to socialize and sell things, and they even have like their own sign language that they use to communicate long distances. West Java.
That's totally interesting. Like, are you like sitting seriously that long in the traffic? But it look very near. I probably would have like claustrophobia or something if I would sit on some kind of scooter or something like that. It looks so tight.
Capital, Bandung, but the largest city is Bekasi, and largest ethnic group, Sundanese. And we got an Indonesian that's gonna take this one.
Hello Geography, Sampurasun. My name is Ilham and I am from West Java, and I'll explain to you a little bit about my province. West Java is the most populous of all the province and is home to the third and fourth largest cities, and also Bandung is actually considered as the Paris of Indonesia. And also I am Sundanese, and West Java is home of the Sundanese people, the second largest ethnic group in Indonesia after Javanese. It was the home of the Sunda Kingdom. And also Sundanese people is famous for our beautiful woman, humorous man. A lot of our comedians come from West Java, even though there is actually a superstition that Sundanese people and Javanese people should have not married, but more like just a superstition. And also just like the Javanese people, we have our own writing system. Otherwise, angklung music, Sundanese puppetry. As you can see, this is the old angklung. You just have to shake it like this.
Thank you.
That's it? Like, you're just shaking it, yeah? Huh.
Central Java. Capital, Semarang. Largest ethnic group, Javanese. This is the center of Javanese culture and people. Things like Javanese shadow puppets.
One thing when I'm just seeing here, like, every time, like, everywhere is kind of gold, but the color with the gold in your clothes on you, it was purple. Now it was like greenish, like light green, and then before that is it purple, green, red? Yeah, it's interesting. Like there is still like the headpiece is quite similar. Like everything is kinda with some other parts, some other different things. Jesus Christ. And yeah, so interesting, but it's still at the same style and so beautiful.
Puppetry, gamelan music, keris, blades, batik cloth, Javanese dancing. It can all be found here. Home to various pre- and post-Islamic Javanese kingdoms. So many ancient historical sites you can check out, especially Borobudur Temple, the largest Buddhist temple in the world.
That. How could you make that? It's something. It's massive.
Lots of people, even Indonesians, mistake it and they think it's located in Yogyakarta. No, it's located here. It was also the hub of the Dutch East India Company when the Dutch came in. Javanese people have their own script, and in my opinion, it's one of the most beautiful scripts in the world. It looks like something written by elves. It is taught in schools, but sadly, like most other native scripts of Indonesia, it mostly plays a symbolic role rather than a functional daily role. Yogyakarta! The capital is itself Yogyakarta. Largest ethnic group, Javanese. So this province has special autonomous status and acts sort of like a mini sultanate under the Republic of Indonesia. But see, that's the thing. Most people think it's just ruled under the sultanate, but actually it's a diarchy co-ruled under the Yogyakarta Sultanate and the Duchy of Pakualaman, which is a minor Javanese princely state. So basically, if West Java was the center of Javanese culture, this is the heart. It's the site of Prambanan Temple, the second largest Hindu temple in Southeast Asia after Angkor Wat. It's famous for having some of the best universities in Indonesia. Also, I was told this is a very popular street that tourists go to for cheesy, gimmicky shopping. East Java, capital Surabaya. Largest ethnic group, Javanese once again. And for this one, let's go to one of our Indonesians, shall we?
Yo, apa kabar Dede? I'm Maindra and I'm going to explain about my home province, East Java. The largest empire in Indonesia was located in what's now called Mojokerto City, to be exact. Surabaya, which is the capital of East Java, is the second largest city in Indonesia. Surabaya is also called the city of heroes because the battle between the Indonesian and the Dutch after independence is located in Surabaya. And every November 10, we celebrated Heroes Days. It also has the Suramadu Bridge, which connects the mainland Java and also the Madura Island. Okay, that's all. Bye!
Thank you. Also, it's where you can find the unique Tenggerese people. Basically, they are the cousins of the Balinese people that split off and they stayed in the mountains of Java during the Hindu Majapahit Empire times. Most of them are still Hindu and they speak an ancient form of Javanese that regular Javanese people can't understand. And now we move on to the Kalimantan region, also known as Borneo. This is the third largest island in the world and politically it's shared with Malaysia and Brunei. So let's start off. West Kalimantan, capital Pontianak, largest group, the Dayak peoples. So the capital city, Pontianak, actually straddles the equator and they have a monument dedicated to it. You guys told me Pontianak or Kuntilanak are ghosts of virgin women that died in unnatural ways. Here you can also find the longest river in Indonesia, the Kapuas River. Ethnically, this area is dominated by the Dayak tribes, and they also have one of the largest Chinese Indonesian communities. In fact, this regency, Singkawang, it's like 70% Chinese. There was even a time when the Chinese Indonesians tried to make their own country called the Lanfang Republic, but it was squelched by the Dutch colonials. Central Kalimantan, capital Palangkaraya, and of course Dayak peoples are the largest group. And we got a special Indonesian geography to explain this one.
Greetings, I'm Nafa, and I'm from Central Kalimantan, currently the largest province in Indonesia. In 1957, our province was separated from South Kalimantan to give Dayak folks from three regencies more autonomy. Our most influential local hero is Anakletus Cilikriwut, and he's also our first ever governor. In our province, you can find the Kaharingan Temple, which is a place of worship for an indigenous monotheistic folk religion called Kaharingan. And in some areas, Central Kalimantan has unique traditional house called Humabetang, usually accompanied by a sapunduk carved sculptures. This temple used a mini version of the Humabetang called Sandung as a shrine to give the bones of the deceased. And lastly, we have one of the most famous orangutan conservations here, Tanjung Puting National Park. Thank you.
Thank you. South Kalimantan, capital Banjarbaru, but the largest city is Banjarmasin, largest ethnic group, the Banjaris. This is the smallest province in Kalimantan, considered the flattest and swampiest province in Indonesia. The former capital, Banjarmasin, is considered the home of the Banjar people. And one thing you gotta know about the Banjar people, they're kind of like the mediators between the Dayak peoples and the rest of the Indonesians. The Banjar language is actually the lingua franca that most of the tribes use on the island of Kalimantan. The Malagasy language of Madagascar most closely relates to the Banjar language, and it is most likely that Madagascar was settled by ancient Banjar peoples over a millennia ago. Crazy, right? Otherwise, Banjar culture is well known throughout Indonesia as well. They have one of the only few traditional theater arts that was developed on the island. And finally, this province is known for producing diamonds. East Kalimantan, capital Samarinda, largest ethnic group, the Javanese and the Bugis. This is one of the richest provinces in Indonesia because soon it will host the future capital city of Indonesia, to be named Nusantara. It is also home to the oldest known kingdom in Indonesia.
It really look old, like really, really old. You know what I'm gonna say? I want to travel there. I want to check it out by myself. It looks so great.
The Hindu-based Kutai kingdom. And today, the Kutai people, who are descendants of this kingdom, make up the fourth largest ethnic group. Basically, this province sits on the largest delta in the country, which is famous for having oil fields, so there's a lot of resource extraction potential. North Kalimantan, capital Tanjung Selor, but the largest city is Tarakan. Largest ethnic group, the Malays and the Dayaks. They border Malaysia and even have an island that's split in half with Malaysia, Sebatik Island. So this place is kind of known for having a little bit of drama that happened in the 60s. Basically, this area was under the Bulungan Sultanate, which had close ties to Malaysia, which made things complicated during the Indonesia-Malaysia confrontation years. Long story short, lots of the royal house members or the aristocrats were either captured or killed, or they exiled to Malaysia. And today, some of the surviving members have announced that they're actually returning to Indonesia in the process of getting Indonesian citizenship. So to conclude, it's kind of like the complicated sibling of Kalimantan. And now we move on to the Nusa Tenggara or Lesser Sunda Islands. Although small, this is the most popular region in Indonesia to outsiders, and it all has to do with really only one island, and you know what it is. Bali! Capital, Denpasar. Largest ethnic group, the Balinese. Bali is not a country. It is a province of Indonesia, and the third smallest province after Jakarta and Yogyakarta. It is the only Hindu majority province in Indonesia. However, unlike Hinduism in India or Nepal, Balinese Hindus usually do not adhere to strict vegetarian customs all the time. Like other ethnic groups, Balinese people have their own language and script. Basically, when Islam came in during the Hindu Majapahit Empire, the Balinese split off with their cousins, the Tenggarese people on Java, and they crossed the strait into Bali, which was kind of seen as like a safe haven for Hindus. Fast forward a bunch of centuries, and word spread, and somehow it became a super popular tourist hotspot for Australians and Europeans, and even some Americans jump in on it. They have a lot of overcrowding issues now, and it's like, come on guys, there's a lot more you can check out in Indonesia. Like,
Yeah, actually, like I think last year, of course, on Instagram, some Latvian influencers that I'm following, I think almost everyone, it's in this year, like last year, is traveling there. And yeah, they seriously, I could see like for example, like picture there is a beautiful waterfall, and like you can get there, like it looks like you could be there, like the only people, only one there. But actually, when you're like standing, for example, the same waterfall, you need to like stand in the line to get some picture, and you know, and there's a lot of tourists, and yeah, but yeah, why just Bali, right? As he's saying.
Literally the province next door. But for what it's worth, chill, relaxed culture, five-star hotels.
Like, for example, this looks amazing. I'm just melting for this from this picture. Yeah, love it. I would want to go, but yeah, the tickets is too pricey.
You get the deal. Bali. West Nusa Tenggara. Capital, Mataram. Largest ethnic group, the Sasak people. This province consists of two major islands, Lombok and Sumbawa. Many of you guys, my Indonesian subscribers, have described Lombok as the Muslim version of Bali. It offers the exact same level of ecotourism and tropical resort stuff, even some cool ancient temples like this one. Lombok is known as the tobacco-producing island, while Sumbawa is like the moneymaker of this province with cattle and gold mines. This is why Sumbawa has also kind of expressed the desire to possibly create their own province, since they feel like they provide more economically, yet the capital is on the western side of Lombok. But anyway, other than that, Bali, but just more Muslim-y. East Nusa Tenggara. Capital, Kupang. Largest ethnic group, the Antoni/Dawan peoples. And for this one, let's go to one of our Indonesians, shall we?
East Nusa Tenggara is Indonesia's southernmost province. It is the only province in Indonesia where Catholics are the majority, with about 54% of the total population. And the island of Timor, one of the main islands, share a land border with the country East Timor, which separated from Indonesia in 2002. The iconic Komodo dragon, the world's largest living lizard, are a highlight of the province. They mostly live in Rinca and Komodo Islands. East Nusa Tenggara exhibits a subtle Melanesian influence in its culture and people as it gets closer to the geographic Melanesia. As one of the driest part of Indonesia, many islands feature semi-arid terrain, adding a unique touch to the province's diverse environment.
Thank you. And
I would be scared if I would see that damn lizard that he was showing. It looked much bigger than my arm, like fatter, but no. I would just run away. You know.
now the Sulawesi region, the weird alien-shaped island with 4 arms. This is where you also find the Wallace line, which is an imaginary line that naturalists notice that the flora and fauna changes drastically, like the plants and animals are more closely related to the ones in Australia than Asia over here. West Sulawesi, capital Mamuju, largest ethnic group, the Mandar peoples. Basically, this is the only province without a long arm peninsula, and it's split off in 2004. It's the home of the Mandar people, and it has been trying to make itself more popular since independence. They built the scenic walkway and the capital, and they have like a Hollywood style sign on a hill. A lot of cool history here too. They have a bunch of archaeological sites and traditional houses you can see in the rural areas. Overall, it's like Sulawesi's newer, trying hard to stick out young sibling. South Sulawesi, capital Makassar, largest ethnic group, the Buginese or the Bugis and the Makassarese people. So the predominant ethnic group here, the Buginese or the Bugis people, are well known throughout Indonesia. Historically, they were known for being the best sailors, going as far as Australia to trade, long before Europeans even knew what Australia was. And many notable politicians in Indonesia have been Bugis. Nonetheless, the most famous group of people that put this province on the map are probably the Toraja people. They have that really weird death ritual thing. You've probably seen pictures or videos of it in documentaries. They put the caskets up in the open area. Southeast Sulawesi.
It looked quite weird, and I'm not seeing that anywhere. Like, you are dressing them up after years and years, or what?
Capital, Kendari, largest ethnic group, the Tolaki and the Butonese. So to summarize, this place was once part of the Buton Sultanate, which is where the second largest ethnic group, the Butonese people, get their name from. And the people were known as the blacksmith people because it was noticed that a lot of people here were using iron tools. Otherwise, it's kind of difficult to get here by road because there's only like one small road in and out from surrounding provinces. Most people actually just prefer to arrive by ferry. And finally, they have the largest castle in the world area-wise. Central Sulawesi, capital Palu, largest ethnic group, the Kaili and the Buginese people. This is the heart of Sulawesi with the widest range of ethnic groups, home to so many historical kingdoms. Also, this place has some of the best Neolithic historical sites, like these megalith granite stone structures, ancient cave drawings. Otherwise, this place has been a huge coffee and mining hub. Recently, lots of nickel deposits have been discovered here, and it boosted their industrial prospects. Gorontalo, capital Gorontalo, largest ethnic group, Gorontaloan. This is an interesting one. You'll notice it's the only province in Sulawesi that doesn't have the name Sulawesi attached to it. It's the birthplace of who is considered one of the brightest Indonesians ever to have lived, former president of Indonesia, Mr. Habibie, who is also the father of Indonesia's aeronautics industry. Gorontaloan people used to have their own sultanate. You can see the ruins of it in these areas. They have their own unique customs and cuisines like binte biluhuta, which is like a sweet corn porridge with shrimp and seasonings. Kind of like shrimp and grits in the USA. North Sulawesi, capital...
Haven't eaten any of them. So, could be good.
Manado, largest ethnic group, the Minahasan. This place was historically a huge hub for spices, rice, and gold in the past, which made it a huge point of interest from outsiders like the Portuguese, Dutch, Spanish, Chinese, and domestic kingdoms. Today, the commerce spirit is still alive, and they are famous for having some of the most extreme markets that sell jungle bushmeat. It has a population that is about 70% Christian, mostly Protestant, and the largest ethnic group, the Minahasan people, have their famous kabasaran, which is like a traditional martial art and war dance, and it includes these cool red costumes and feather headdresses and weapons. It is also the province with the only synagogue in Indonesia, as they host a small community of just a few couple hundred Sephardic Jewish people, mostly originating from Spain and Portugal. Now we reach the Maluku Islands, known as the Spice Islands. These islands are kind of like the bridge between Asia and Oceania. Everything starts to kind of blend, and you start to see a lot more Austronesian with a semi-Melanesian touch to it here. The first one, Maluku. Capital, Ambon. Largest ethnic group, the Malukans. Basically, this is the site where Europeans recorded their first interaction with the Indonesian islands. Home to the super small Banda Archipelago, which historically was at one point the only producer of nutmeg in the entire world.
What?
And despite
They look quite weird, almost like a huge ladybug.
this province having small land area, they have the largest domain of ocean territory out of all the provinces. Ambon is known as the city of music because a lot of famous Indonesian singers come from here. Historically, Malukans were kind of known for being hired as like the debt collectors throughout Indonesia. And in the past, they were usually the ones that worked most closely with the Dutch, which is why today most people of Indonesian descent in the Netherlands have roots from the Moluccan Islands. Most Moluccans are mixed between many ethnic groups, including Arabs, Europeans, and Melanesians. So there's a lot of mixed people here. North Maluku, capital Sofifi, but the largest city is Ternate. As for the largest ethnic group, there is no one ethnic group that dominates. There are 28 known groups here, but the one with the largest population, they guess, is the Tobelo. Basically, Maluku used to be one province, and this area split off in 1999. There were many factors, but for one, North Maluku was originally the center of the 4 largest Islamic sultanates in the eastern Indonesian archipelago, known as the 4 Mountains of Maluku, or Moloku Kiaraha. Later on, only 2 of them would remain, Tidore and Ternate. The larger city, Ternate, used to be the capital, but then they decided to move it to Sofifi to remain neutral between the 2 remaining sultanates. By the way, Ternate is the oldest continuously active sultanate in Indonesia. Today, the city of Sofifi is still being built, and it has less than 5,000 people as of 2023, but they're trying to get there. And finally, we reach the Papuas. Side note, this is the beginning of what constitutes geographic Melanesia, as it connects to the other half of the island of the country of Papua New Guinea. This entire area was once an entire province itself up until it split into 2 provinces, Papua and West Papua, and then in 2022, it split into 4 more provinces. Traditionally, there are 7 customary regions in this area, and some of the newer provinces kind of follow these borders more or less. Keep in mind, about half of all native Indonesian languages come from just Papua alone, and it is home to some controversies that Indonesia is faced with due to some separatist movements from the Papuan people, and they've made calls for dialogue. Keep in mind, the sentiment is not for integration into Papua New Guinea, but rather a separate independent state for themselves. But we'll get into that later. Anyway, Southwest Papua, capital Sorong. There are 52 ethnic groups here, none of them are dominant. This area sits on the Doberai, or Bird's Head Peninsula of the Papuan Island, which was a customary region. And this province's name is a complete misnomer, as it sits on the northwesternmost part of the island, not the southwest, but they never changed the name, which is confusing. Hey, these provinces seem to change their name and split every few years, so who knows, maybe it'll happen soon. I don't know, whatever, it's weird. In any case, historically this place used to be ruled by these 4 kings, and since there are too many languages, the lingua franca used here is usually Papuan Malay. There's a Christian majority here, and they're famous for the Raja Ampat National Park, which has these really cool sharp island clusters and one of the most biodiverse reef systems in all of Indonesia. It's really cool stuff. Next one, West Papua, capital Manokwari. West Papuan peoples make up the majority of the population. This is the Bomberai Peninsula. It was a customary region, and they broke off in 2022 and kept the name of the original province. This province is predominantly inhabited by about 60 West Papuan ethnic peoples, Christian majority at 63%, famous for being the place that the nationalist sympathizers were exiled by the Dutch during the National Awakening movement in the 40s. They have their famous Kaki Seribu, or Thousand Leg House, and Doreri Bay, which has over 20 former World War II sunken wreck sites. And also, a lot of you guys wanted me to mention that there's a town called Fak fuck here. I'm not cussing. That's just the name. Fuck. Central Papua. Capital, Nabire, but the largest city is Timika. Obviously, Papuan peoples make up the largest group. They broke away from the Papua province in 2022. The one thing that makes this place famous is the Grasberg gold mines, one of the largest reserves of gold and copper in the world. The
That's
area
deep.
is about 88% Christian, mostly Protestant, and famous for hosting the tallest peak of Indonesia, Puncak Jaya, which is also the tallest mountain on an island in the world. And even though near the equator, yes, it has snow on the peak. Lots of cool festivals like the Balian Valley Festival, showcasing traditional Papuan culture, and the Dani Tribe Pig Festival. Papua, capital Jayapura, and of course, Papuan peoples make up the largest ethnic group. So basically, this is the province that used to be the center of the entire Papua province before it kept splitting up. The capital Jayapura also served as the capital to it, and today it is the largest city in the entirety of Indonesian Papua. It's also the most developed and has the largest and busiest airport. It's also the site where the Act of Free Choice was done in 1969, in which Western New Guinea was given a referendum to vote for integration into Indonesia or not by 1,022 tribal representatives. In the end, they voted for integration with Indonesia, which angered some people that initiated the Free Papua movement. It's a complicated story that doesn't have a simple answer, and I'm just saying this is where it went down. Highland Papua, capital Wamena. This is the only landlocked subdivision within Indonesia, following more or less the customary region of Lapago, and it is one of the last regions in Indonesia to have native peoples to have documented contact with the outside world in 1909. Many of my Indonesian subscribers have told me that this is kind of like the center of the separatist activity. Clashes between rebels and Indonesian government officials / military is not uncommon. Everybody knows it. Nonetheless, the people still hold fast to their culture and tradition. You can find those really cool thatched Dani houses in some rural parts of this area. Lots of festivals here as well. And finally, South Papua, capital Merauke. This province roughly follows the customary region of Animha. It is the least populated province of Indonesia with only about 500,000 people. It is home to the largest wetland delta in Papua, very swampy areas with some of the tallest stilt houses in Papua. Some are just tree houses. The South Papuan people are well known for their wood carving arts, especially the Asmat tribe. Also, they are famous for the 0 kilometer monument, which is the easternmost point of Indonesia, as well as the Musa Mus termite mounds. They're super huge and they are famous for their agar wood industry. So that is it. Oh my god.
What is agar wood?
That was a lot of provinces, 38. Oh my god, I can't. Look, I love you guys. I love making these videos, but man, sometimes there's just so much information to put out there. But I promised you guys, the Indonesians, I would do this. So cheers. Look, Indonesia is a great place, but this is the one problem I have with Indonesia. There's 18,000 islands. Like, how do you choose which one to go to? Like, each one has a different crazy cool thing going on, and they have different languages and customs. And it's like, I don't know, Indonesian subscribers. I mean, I only got to go to Batam City, but what do you suggest I visit in Indonesia if I were to come back? Anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. This was fun. Stay cool. Stay tuned.
Yeah. Only place that I know, it's of course Bali, because almost everyone is now from Latvia just traveling there. But yeah, I really enjoyed the nature, the mountains, even the water. You know, like in Latvia, there is a kind of a mountain, but you can't call it a mountain. That is just a bump. Like, I don't know. For us it's a mountain, but actually it couldn't be even kind of called as that. But yeah, so yeah, I really like the real mountains, how they look. It's just magnificent, I would say. I just know, I don't know. And the sea color, for us it's like not blue and not green. So yeah, I love it. And it was so complicated that those all of those names, even those groups, so many, so difficult. Wow, I can't. So yeah, I Hope you did enjoy this video, and if you did, please consider to leave a like and subscribe. And yeah, hopefully I'm gonna see you next time. Bye!